It's just something that I live. Hey, it's just something that I live that this world don't live. It's just something that I feel that this world don't feel. I gotta keep it real. J.E. Get 'em.
Welcome to the Let Bob podcast. I'm Ant, the CEO and founder of Let Bob. I got my main man Dave here. We're gonna talk to y'all about the stock market today. Dave, let them know who you is and what you're gonna do.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Dave Walker. I'm the Chief Trading Officer here at Let Bob. And today we're going to discuss what is the market doing. The market. We're talking about the stock market. All right? The Dow Jones, the S&P 500, the Russell 3000, the Russell 2000. These are things you probably heard about, but you actually probably didn't know what's going on. You ever turn on CNBC, you see the tickers running at the bottom? These are the things that we're talking about.
So, today's point, you see this stuff on the news, you might not understand what's going on, so that's why I Let Bob exist in the first place. We trying to educate the community so that when you see, let's say, Dow Jones, S&P 500, you got a resource to kind of explain what that is and also like how that impact you. But see, because the stock market, no matter what industry you in, it's going to affect your money bag. And so being aware, like, when you're seeing Dow Jones down 1,000 points, like, what does that mean? And so that's what we're going to do today is kind of explain what that means and, like, what's going on right now, because I know it's a lot of news right now about, like, this crazy, what is the stock market doing? 401ks getting hit, all this stuff going on. So we're going to try to put some reference points that today on this episode. So...
And for me, like I say, the main thing I want to really talk about is what's really going on is the Feds. And the Feds, what the Feds y'all ask, is the Federal Reserve. Yep. Right? So just a little quick history of what the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve was created to regulate the money supply. What I mean by that is if the economy is doing well, they come in, they take money out of the economy. If the economy is doing pretty bad, they inject money in it. So look at it like your parents, all right? Your family's doing pretty good, your parents are able to give you some extra allowance, all right? Things not going too well, now your mom and dad going to tell you, hey, look, you're not bad to buy those Jordans this week. Right?
Yeah.
So look at them. That's their role. And as of right now, inflation is like insane. So what I mean by inflation is like the cost of goods. As you can see, you went to the pump. How much is gas now?
Oh, man. Crazy.
Insane. How much is food? Insane. Like eggs, milk, everything is up. So now what the Feds is about to come in and do is they're trying to get this thing down because the cost of goods are just too extreme and people are getting crushed. So now their job is to come in and try to regulate that.
The crazy part, though, inflation, like, it's a hot topic now, but inflation is, and it always will be, right? Because think about when we were kids, you get your haircut, what, $10, $5?
Yeah.
Man, my barber, I'm paying, what, $35 now just for a regular haircut, man. And I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. Just imagine that, man. But that's inflation, though, over time, right?
Yeah.
So
mine's $75.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so we had to move our meeting up. I moved my flight up to get in early. Yeah. That was $100.
Yeah.
So.
And a lot of that comes from, like, the pandemic in 2020 when they put all this money in the market, the Feds. Right, the government put out these PPP loan money, and so people just been buying, and when you have that type of buying, you create shortages, right? And when you got a shortage, you create higher prices.
Supply and demand.
So we get what we at right now.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what's going on because that's what the Fed's about to do. 2020 came, pandemic came, it was out of nowhere. We weren't prepared for it. And no one was prepared for it. So what they end up doing is start throwing money in the market, right? Yep. Just throwing money. The stock market, quote unquote, should have crashed based upon you shut down the whole economy for 3 months.
Yeah.
Right? So in a bigger picture, look at it like this. When you have these big machines or well-oiled machines running, say for instance, like just take school, take Howard. Howard has a certain amount of food that they order every month, a certain amount of milk that they order every month. When you shut that down for 3 months, what happens to this milk? What happens to this food?
Yeah, and it's a domino effect, right? Because just like Howard's placing the order, the company that they ordering from is expecting the order.
Yep.
Right? So now that order ain't coming in to that company, so they get hit. So it was crazy just how it played out. And then talk about the housing market too, man. Because like the housing pricing was like, or it's still kind of insane in a lot of places, man.
Yeah. And now the interest rates just went up to 6%. It's first time since 2008. as well as like you got some areas like, take for instance, Austin, probably out here in DC, but Florida, Texas, that was a hot spot because you got all the people from California, Colorado was coming down. Yep. So like prices of houses was up 40-50%. Yep. It was times I was actually at a open house and you had people from California come in and say, look, no disrespect, y'all can leave. The house is like $550. He said, no disrespect, $600,000 all cash right now. And that what that does is now that affects rent.
Yep.
Right? And who are the most people that rent? Us. People that actually don't have the money to buy, right? Because it's a big process to like go through, buy a house, own a house. You got to have like a lot of credentials. You got to be tight. So overall, man, this is what's going on in the market. It's a lot of things that's coming to fruition that people didn't think would come this fast. But guess what happens now? We're here now. The market's crashing. Housing is insane. Cost of goods is insane. And now a lot of people getting hit with the 401ks, the IRAs. It's just tragic.
That's why you got to be knowledgeable because you got to know how to maneuver when the market gives gifts too. Because a lot of people made a lot of money in this up down market, right? You got people who sold houses and made a killing.
Oh yeah, real estate.
Like me personally, I sold my house and bought another house in a way that, if not for the pandemic, I probably couldn't have maneuvered like that.
Correct.
Because the guy who I bought my house from, he's trying to take advantage of the lower interest rates and upgrade. Mm-hmm. And we did the same, but being knowledgeable about that. I like to tell people, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what you do for a living, you got to be mindful of the overall market. And that's the stock market, the real estate market, any market that affects your daily and how you maneuver so that you can find ways to save money when opportunity presents itself, like the pandemic move was.
Yeah, and it's sad that during the pandemic, a lot of people got a lot of money. You got unemployment money, you got stock market gains, as well as, PPP money, et cetera. But in our community, I just feel like we didn't maximize the money the way it should have been. So what I do case studies, right? Everywhere I go, I monitor different things. So for instance, we used to go to the mall, Louis Vuitton Galleria, Gucci, all these places that had extremely long lines during the pandemic. You couldn't even get in.
Yep.
Well, that's the PPP money. That's the unemployment money. People weren't putting this assets. They was out buying what? Luxury gifts.
Yep.
Fast forward now, you're starting to see some of these prices come down. For instance, like G63s. G63s was up to $300,000.
Yep.
That was the hottest car during the whole pandemic. $300,000. Lamborghini trucks. All these cars are like $300,000. All these places has cars $100,000 over sticker, right? Because you had what? Free money.
And again, go back to what I was saying. Because so much money was out there, it wasn't enough cars to meet the demand. So that's what was pushing the prices up like crazy. Now, not being knowledgeable of the market, if you bought that car when it was $300,000 or $400,000,
you burnt.
You're gonna get burned.
Same way like the Rolexes we was looking at 60th anniversary Rolexes. Yep. We was looking at these Rolexes in 2020, and I was like, Aunt, I think we should get these watches. Like, and he was like, man, I don't know. I said, Aunt, I just feel like this is the one.
Yep.
Next thing you know, the watch was like retail for like $60,000. Next thing you know, it's like $140,000.
Yep. At the top of the market. How much is it now?
It's back to like $64,000. So I'm monitoring it. You know what I mean? I wanted to get back in that sweet spot, but it's things like that occurred, man. Like one of my friends, his wife had a Yukon truck. He bought it. I think he paid $40,000 for it. He kept it for a year, put like 24,000 miles on, ended up selling for $45,000. Like those type of things are insane.
Right now, prices still pretty thick, right? My uncle, he's shopping for a Tundra, Toyota Tundra. And he like these trucks selling for like 80, almost 90 grand, man. A Tundra.
Yeah, trucks and SUVs is
crazy,
no deals.
Man. It's crazy.
But let's talk about 18-wheelers.
Oh, man.
Before we change over. Like
that whole mood. And dually trucks, because of high shine, everybody getting into that space. But again, just being knowledgeable, man. So that backs us into like why we have Let Bob in the first place. It's not so much about the products we put in the marketplace. It's also like just bringing knowledge to the community. Like Dave and I, we know this. Like we know how to maneuver. But I mean, what benefit to, in my opinion at least, because I'm a country boy, that's just where I was raised. If I got the knowledge and I can help my people, like for me, that's just huge for me, right? And so to have a brand that's like live and die by delivering knowledge to the community so I can empower, like that's a big deal for us. And so our goal, especially with this podcast, is to talk about topics like this, because I know the way it gets delivered on the news and how we hear it mostly through the channels of communication that's available today, they really ain't saying it in the way that we can understand. Because the information generally ain't coming from people who look like us.
Correct.
Right? So we want to get in with the podcast and just really break it down and give you like real world examples that you can go look at yourself. Like everybody knows gas prices was up like crazy. Everybody knows car prices crazy. Housing. A lot of people did upgrade in the pandemic or right after the pandemic. So they saw prices of housing was like insane. Right? So we want to just give you examples that you can relate to, but also understand like what's driving these actions. I remember when it was late 2020, early 21, I was talking to my family and I was asking like, hey, did y'all refinance your house? And a lot of people didn't understand like why they should be refinanced. And I'm like, because interest rates at 2%. A low that they probably never gonna see again. And so this is the opportunity. But if you just in the news for the negativity and just watching it and just really just extracting negative information, you miss out a lot of time on the positivity that can take place. Because if you got a 4.5 interest rate and rates are down to 2%, you don't have to upgrade houses. You could just refinance and save an extra couple $100 a month. That extra couple $100 go a long way.
A long way, especially now with these prices. And I want to go to these stats. These are stats I want to say. Prices year over year, right? Gasoline's up 44%. Jeez. Electricity is up 15%. Food at home, 13%. Used cars, 6.6%. Shelter, 5.7%. Medical care, 5.1%. Like, and then we break it down to like things like plane tickets up 34%, eggs 33%, chicken 20%, and milk 16%. Like, and the one thing the common denominator did not change is what? People's wages and income.
Correct.
And you're getting swallowed, getting crushed.
Getting crushed. That means your dollar, all those increases he talking about, that means you got to work with the same dollar. And that same dollar power just decreased. Because if all the prices going up, and your income ain't going up, then your ability to buy is going down.
They're killing your purchasing power.
You're going to get killed. And if you listen to the list he gave, that's everybody. So the rich, the poor, the middle class, everybody getting hit with those type of increases. It's not limited to a certain class of people. That's everybody. So like just being knowledgeable. So for example, if you take this information we're giving you, then go look at your budget. And I suggest you have a budget. If you don't, go look at your budget and see, like, price of eggs up. Like, how is it going to affect me? How much for my household, how often do I buy eggs? Or what kind of car I drive? Because if gas prices going up, how that's going to affect me? And so, like, really thinking about these decisions and how you move backs back into what the market is doing. Like, the market should be driving all your financial decisions when you move around to provide. Yeah. So,
and when the market is doing bad, like, well, you log on, you see markets in turmoil. Well, these are the things that you need to understand. Hey, it might not be time to buy this new car.
Correct.
It might not be time to go take this vacation. It's times to splurge, and it's also times to lock in and buckle up. And in my opinion, this is not financial advice. It's time to buckle up, right? It's time to get it together, set a budget, chill. Okay, 6 months, 8 months come by, things back good, we back out living, right? But as of right now, me personally, I'm cutting so much stuff, right? Because the thing is, I need deployable capital to do what? Invest when the time is right. And that's what Bob is going to do. Bob is sitting back waiting for the perfect opportunity to deploy capital.
Yeah. And today's point, man, the app, like, that's what it do. The app, Bob, we watch the market. Like, that's the creativity in the app versus, a Robinhood or a Public or all these other apps out here that let you invest in the market. Bob is only going to deploy cash when the environment is right. So they use this example all the time, right? So let's say you want to go to the store and get some shoes. and you go outside, it's thunder, it's lightning, they tell you a tornado about to touch down, I'm in Birmingham. Like, you're not gonna drive to go get the shoes then. Like, you want the weather to permit driving experience that can get you back and forth from the store with the shoes. And so we look at the stock market like that. Bob doesn't want to be in the market when it's all this turmoil that's going on right now. He wanted to be an opportunity when you can invest and give you your highest probability of making your money grow. Because we telling you, you got all these increases everywhere else. So the only way to fight that is by making your dollar worth more money. And the way you do that is investing. Make your money make more money, right? So we excited to drop the app because we know we're going to help so many people. Because we removed that barrier entry where you got to know what stock to buy or when to buy it or when to sell it. The app going to do all of that for you and manage your money for you. All you got to do is commit to putting some money in it and let Bob do his thing.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So we're going to transition a little bit. We got a guest in the building. We're going to bring him on, see what questions he might have about the market, let y'all learn a little bit about him and his journey. Awesome cat, man. We told him about Bob early on, man. We was just really getting grooving with our thing. And he was just so impressed by like the movement itself. And he just committed to being a resource for us and helping us kind of maneuver as we begin to build our brand and get our name out and just kind of how we want to shape ourselves in the industry. And so as a appreciation point, we wanted to bring him on our first episodes of the Let Bob podcast. And so he agreed to come on today. And so we're gonna chat with him. We got Mr. Colby Tyner. He's a senior vice president of Radio One and Reach Media, and he's gonna sit down and talk with us today on the Let Bob podcast. Welcome, Mr. Colby.
What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Yeah, I'm just checking my Dow Jones while I'm listening to you.
Don't look today.
Yeah, it's been ugly.
Oh, man.
But what you didn't say is that a lot of people made more money and their raises got sucked up by inflation.
Oh,
Yeah, because a lot of people, because it is sort of a workers' market now where, you know, people are figuring out like, oh, like these bad-ass employers who don't treat their employees correct, now employees have options.
Yeah.
And there are really good options out there because there's such an entrepreneurial spirit in America right now. So a lot of people don't want to work for nobody anymore.
Correct.
So then the standard jobs are there, but you can make a little bit more money. Like we just saw the railroad strike that was about to happen.
Yeah.
You see all these teacher strikes, all these opportunities that unions are taking to say, hey, pay us more wages or we're going to bounce and then go ahead and try to replace us. So it's a very interesting time because, you know, if you are making more money, it sucks that the inflation is so higher that it's sucking up all of the extra money that you made. So it's like, damn, I can't get ahead. And
I just got this extra $25,000 for the year.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, boom.
If you got a $20,000 raise, you actually in the hole.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
That's insane.
So then if you didn't get a raise,
man.
Yeah, you got
You're really doing bad out here.
So anyway, it's interesting just listening to you guys. And again, man, I just think what these brothers are doing with their app it's just incredible. And you know, at some point you want to get into some of your vision with the app, with the HBCUs, the endowments, and how you love to be attached to that so that you can help grow the money and keep it all in the community. All of those things are amazing. And I'm pretty much new to investing. I mean, I always had a 401k because that's what you're supposed to do when you work for a long time. But during the pandemic, I started investing in the stock market because all of the money that I was going to use for vacation, for gas to come into the office, for all the stuff that I would normally spend, I didn't spend anymore. In fact, I saved a ton of dough, which is kind of another reason why there's so much money flooding the market this year, because so many people didn't spend a lot of money in 2020. So that like 2021, they just came out with the dough like, I got it. You know, like I went to some of my fancy vacation spots this year and I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. You know, it is like people are out.
You start to see some new, like, this was a secret spot. This has been a secret spot.
Exactly. This was my spot. And I'm like, what you doing here, bro?
Exactly.
So yeah, no, I feel it. And again, I just jumped into it, and for me, my first year in the stock market, I was up 120%.
Eating good.
That's insane.
Yeah, he thought that's how it worked.
So I was like, "Oh, this is a drug." Like,
why? Come on, why have I not been doing this my entire life?
That's exactly what I said, right? I'm high.
Yeah, how you feel right now?
This year, I'm negative 20% off of the gains that I made last year, bro. That's insane. I used to look at it 10 times a day. I'll be on it like,
you don't want to see it now.
Boom. And I found stocks that I found baby stocks like during the pandemic, and they blew. Like I found 2 really good baby stocks that blew into something really big, and they're not back to where they were baby, but they just back. But I was like, because I was like, man, I should cash in, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to pay the capital gain. Like I was just debating that. Like I didn't want to put those limits on my account that was selling automatically. I was just being very cautious of whatever. But it's been a great learning experience because now I'm like super engaged. Now I'm like paying attention to like every aspect of business. So when I work out in the morning, when I'm listening to the radio stations and doing the stuff that I need to do for my job, I got CNBC on, I got the business channel. So I'm looking for mergers or opportunities or where I could kind of get in a little bit earlier. I'm just heavy into that space and now thinking more of a long-termer. I don't look at it every day anymore. I just think long-term and look for opportunities that I can invest in that can potentially grow. So I'm really excited to be working with you guys and connecting with you all because I love what you all are doing, and the streets say y'all returns is excellent. So I'm listening to the street because I need some better returns than negative 20%, my brother.
And I want to say this right quick for Ant hopping to it. Like we talk about this all the time. Like the pandemic was a gift and a curse. It's a curse. Rest in peace to all the people that lost their lives to the pandemic. But as far as entrepreneurship and people of color, we are in the market now. We are knowledgeable. We want to know now. Like I take my family. My entire time I've been doing this, no one really know what I do. Right? They didn't really even care. As long as I produced the money, I got the money. Hey son, hey, come on, let's do it. Keep rocking. But now you have a lot of people calling like, hey, what's going on with the stock market now? And I feel like that's one of the greatest things that happened to our community because now people they got crypto, they got stocks. Like people are doing things now. And I believe it's only because of the pandemic, because now you're forced to sit at home for 3 months, watch the news, markets in turmoil. What is this markets in turmoil? And you got the social media. Social media is such a powerful tool if done correctly. Yeah. Now you see the kids, you see the young kids on there, 20, 22 years old making 800,000, 60, 70,000 a day. Now people are like, yo, you really can do this? And for our community, I believe that changed everything. And now lining up with Bob, now they understand they're not fearful to invest, but now Bob's going to show them how, hey, just don't think this is easy now. You need some protection, right?
Yep. You got to pay taxes too. You got to understand when you selling stock because you made a lot of money off it, you got to pay taxes on that gain.
You got it's wash rule. It's a lot of different things. It's a real powerhouse. And like you say, now these are the things that the community needs to know, and that's what we're here to assist them with.
So Colby said something that, I'm always talking about as far as with our community, our culture. He got his first exposure by way of his 401k. That's generally the storyline of most black people. Like, if they have stocks, it's by way of a 401k. But the problem with that type of exposure, you don't really see what's your 401k. It's something that's kind of, you got it, but you don't get to look at it. It's like having a heart, right? You got a heart, it's there, but you don't see it, you don't touch it, you don't, play with it or whatever. And so a big deal for me was to take people like Colby when they become interested, like he did. Pandemic, like Dave said, was a blessing because it forced people to become interested and look. And so with Bob, what we do is we do the same thing, but we give like a protection around you. So Colby, when you started trading in the pandemic, who was there with you?
Nobody.
No guidance, on his own. Like all these trading platforms that's in the marketplace, you're by yourself. Like you have no protection barrier. You could have traded however much you want. Nobody told you, like when you say you were up, nobody came in and said, hey man, you probably need to sell some of this, or you probably need to hold it, or you probably need to do, A, B, or C. It was all up to Colby, and Colby was just getting started.
And I was taking the approach of, like, always about the stock market is looking for like just those real bona fide companies that have been around for a long time. And so like when I went to go do it, it was right when it crashed, right when the pandemic started. So then I was able to get Ford at like $3.
Yeah.
GM. I know about electric cars is the future, right? So I invested in a lot of electric companies. But then for instance, I made a mistake when I invested in Rivian because I saw that Amazon was like a major investor in that. And so like I jumped in immediately, and I wish I didn't. I wish I would have waited because it's settled. And now where it's settled at, it's settled like $60 lower than what I paid for it. Because I was just desperate to get in, like, I got to get in.
Yeah.
But I learned in the beginning, it was really about when it crashed, so I could get stuff that I knew like would be bona fide. So like Ford, when I got in at 3, I think it's like 16, 17 now, and it's been pretty steady. Yeah. And then actually I got into Ford because I saw the new Mustang that they were doing that was electric, and I was like, this is going to move.
Yeah.
And then I saw with GM that they was going to flip everything electric, and then I saw the Cadillac Lyriq like 3 years ago, like, because I'm definitely getting that.
Exactly.
So I was like, I see what they about to do. And they told all the dealers, like, we're moving to electric, so either you like with us or you ain't. You need to give up your however they call that franchise for. Mm-hmm. So I was investing like that, like just from a technology perspective, because I do believe that electric cars are going to be the future. Yeah. So now's the time to get in. So I got in on NIO, which I saw on 60 Minutes. This Chinese electric car. It's like the Chinese Tesla. I got in at $9, but I saw their cars. And they have a system that Tesla doesn't have, where to exchange the battery, you just go into a place and the battery, they pull it out, put it in versus charging. You can charge it, but you can exchange the battery, which is a time game saver, which Tesla hasn't done yet. They don't have that technology in America. So I was able to make those decisions to invest based on just feeding my brain with just knowledge about the world, right? So I watch the news. Like my wife she's like, you watch too much news. It's like I watch everything. I just want to be knowledgeable about everything, because that's how money moves. Like people start talking about something, and then it's like
everybody crying.
But you don't want to be like late.
The last one.
Yeah. Because when you last, you got to pay. So like with Rivian, I knew about it. Then I was like, if Bezos is investing in this and they're going to make all their trucks, Rivian trucks. And I saw one, I saw somebody in my neighborhood that got one. I was like, let me get with these dudes, right? Thinking that, it's going to be like Tesla and it's going to be $1,000 a share. And Tesla was like $1,000, $1,100 a share, but now they split it and now it's kind of stuck where, stuck 300. But, those are the things that you should do as a consumer, is learn a little bit about, like I was learning from, I'm learning from these guys now, but I was learning from like YouTube or just different
University.
people. YouTube University, man. I'm not a graduate yet, but I am straight up in class every day. But what I learned is like really feeding your brain with knowledge, because that's what's happening with our Congress, right? So the Congress is screwed up because it's like a legalized like hustle being in Congress, because they're on committees making rules and laws about business, but then they can go with their family and invest
and buy.
Yeah. So the average like congressperson and senate person, they get in there, they're working class like we are, but then when they get out, they worth $40-50 million. Yeah.
And I did that. I looked at, like, I went through, because like I say, I'm analytical, so I went through looking at, like, you got some of these, they worth $40-50 million. You're like, how you worth $40-50 million?
And then that's why they staying there until their 70s and 80s, because they building their legacy off the backs of us. So part of that is just from an investment strategy, is really just learning about what's happening in the world and understand, like, the people that make the big money is looking and they're predicting and they're way ahead of the game, right? So like when the pandemic, when they was talking, if I'd have known this, I know it now. So when in late December, when the pandemic was talking, when they was talking about the pandemic, I should have been investing in vaccine companies.
Moderna.
But I did get into Moderna. I got into Moderna at like 78, and it's like 185 or something like that now. But the point is, knowing that stuff in advance, so these people in Congress, they know this, right? So they like, okay, well, we're going to do healthcare, we're going to do vaccines, we're going to do Pfizer, Moderna, all these different companies, and then it gets, that's why when news is announced, the stock market reacts immediately. And that's why you got to be, and I feel like our people, man, we just, and because I'm 50 plus, bro, so like I'm late to the game. Like I had that around me, but I didn't know. And so like what you guys are doing is really like you know, that education, man. Like, cause my kid, like I buy stocks for my kid now. Like I set up an account for her, and I'm buying. I wish I knew when I was her age.
Ooh.
I wish I knew about Apple, like just to get into Apple or Amazon, like super early. I mean, Amazon, like what they split it.
Well, they split again. They like at 130s, 150s.
Yeah.
But like you say, those stocks. If you had bought the Dow Jones or Amazon or Apple, some back then, you're looking at taking 5,000 to 5 million. In some of these stocks, and that's how a lot of these people we see around. You be like, how did these people obtain this wealth? They invested, and they did, and that's the thing about it. You ain't got to do nothing but put the money up. Like the world is going to do all the decisions, do everything else for you.
But you go back to exposure, right? So, like we about like pushing the message out there. You got brands like EYL now, right? You got a lot of brands that's trying to get the content to the community, because for the longest time, especially with no internet, you take the internet out the picture,
you're done.
We don't know. Like my granddad never owned stocks, man. You know, my granddad was a hard worker. He believed in, you know, you work and that's how you're gonna eat. He didn't understand the benefits of buying stocks or being involved in the stock market. Not because he was slow or illiterate. He just didn't know. He wasn't exposed to it. And how you become desirable or something, you have to know about it.
Correct.
That's right. True. And so that's why we're so passionate about like taking our brand and getting the word out. So exposing you. But the other side of us is giving you a tool to help you actually do it. Because there's one thing to talk about the benefits of the stock market. We could tell you, like Colby's telling you his experience. We could tell you our experience, but as you hear with Colby's experience, it takes a lot of work, takes a lot of educating yourself, and you're really trying to make the best decisions by really guessing for the most part.
That's exactly
because you don't have a guide. You know, nobody's guiding you. So if you guess right, then yeah, you make some money. You guess wrong, you can lose your whole account.
Yep.
And so what we want to do and what we're doing is educating you on the benefits of it. Everybody should be investing in the stock market, is my opinion, because it affects you in your entire walk in life. I don't care who you are, what you do for a living, where you live, everything about operating in this country, the stock market is going to impact it. And so with that, you should make sure you're knowledgeable of it, but also participate in it too.
Yeah.
And so we understand like the journey of investing is tough. So we want to make sure we use our brand and technology to give a tool. So if you just got some money, then you good. You in the game.
Well, let me get deep on you real quick about our people. Our people, and just not just our people, but just Americans in general, are totally distracted from knowledge and information. There's so many things that have been set up in our lives to distract us. Like I got a dog, so you can easily distract the dog away from whatever it is that you want to distract them away from, right? So we spend a lot of time on social media using it to feed ourselves with negative information and negative knowledge, and not necessarily like understanding, like, or even just watching the news and just knowing what is happening. You should spend an hour of your day just watching the news and what's going on in the world, and be able to make investment decisions based on trends that are happening. So like I said, late December 2019, people were talking about the pandemic in China, and it was in Wuhan, and it was like, you know, whatever. Like, I guarantee you, the best investors in the game was way ahead of that. They was already buying up stuff that they knew, okay, boom, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And then why don't y'all talk a little bit about this? Because I don't understand it yet, and I'm still trying to figure it out, because something happened yesterday where Apple was like a short, or somebody shorted the stock. Like, I need to understand the loss part of stocks and shorting and whatnot, because in the pandemic, a lot of people made money off of that too.
So I go into far as short, like call them short sellers. So the market's a zero sums game, right? Let's just say I'm the market maker and you Colby. So you come in, you buy, let's just keep it simple, you buy 100 shares of Apple.
Yep.
Somebody has to be on the opposite side of that order, right? So you bought, so I had to sell you those orders, right? So therefore, when you sell those, when I sell you that order, I'm at risk. So if Apple goes from 100 to 500, I got to pony up, right? And so that's how a lot of people get burned, because the stock is unlimited. Let's go to the GameStop.
Yep.
Look what happened with GameStop.
Or AMC.
And AMC. So what happened with GameStop is Melvin Capital got caught slipping. Yep. We're breaking down terminology. You got caught slipping, right? You get caught slipping, that is not good. It don't matter what it's pertaining to. Getting robbed, cheated on, stealing, whatever it is. You get caught.
What does slipping mean? What
is slipping?
Break it down.
You're not on point. You're not on point.
But how did they get caught?
Okay, so this way. So, all right, this is what they did. Let's take, for instance, anything you do, the max is 100%, right? So they shorted the stock. It was up to like 124%. So that means they over leveraged. See, the thing about the stock market is that a lot of people don't talk about is leverage. That means you can put up $1 and you can get $4. Right? So that's dangerous. It works when it go in your favor, but when it go the opposite way, it gets real bad.
You're losing 4 times the amount.
So talk to me like I'm a 4-year-old.
All right, so
no, but I'm just gonna say this to you. So if I'm looking at the stock market and I want to bet against this, I'm betting against the stock. If I see a stock increasing, I'm betting against it. So how does that work? So
you're actually shorting. I mean, you're putting an order and you're betting, saying, "Hey, this stock is going to go down. I'm betting to go down." Let's go to craps. Most people not shoot dice, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So me and Colby shooting head up. You want to get point. What do I want? I don't want you to get point, right? So I'm betting that you don't get point. So the same thing with the stock. You're betting against the stock. You're saying, man, this stock is trash. This stock is going to go down, right?
So why is that legal, though? Why is that, like, I don't understand why that's legal. It just sounds like it's just not.
It's a zero-sum game, though. So you got to have a winner and loser. Let's take basketball. When the Rockets play the Bullets, somebody got to win, somebody got to lose, right? So they just have the ability to be on the opposite side, right? Which is a very dangerous game. Because the thing about it is unlimited. So to go back with the GameStop, what happened with GameStop was once the masses, what really happened was it was some real intelligent guys, some hedge fund guys, some real Wall Street guys seen this, but they really exploited the Wall Street bets community and got them to fuel the fire to actually come in to help them do what they really wanted to do. So you got these big firms, these big research firms, all they do is short stocks. That's it. They don't do no buying. They come in to exploit you to see where you're lacking or slipping. Because, like, take for instance, some of these electric companies, some of these SPAC companies that came out the last couple of years, they were overvalued. A lot of companies were overvalued. So you got people just, all they do is come in and do
Tesla's overvalued.
Overvalued. So you got people that come in and do what? Short it, right? So therefore, what happened was those guys had leveraged against GMC. So once you get to a certain point, you know, because we can pull up the profile, it'll tell you how much money you're going to lose if this stock goes to this price. That stock, GameStop went from $20 to $100, $100 to $275, $275 to $400. So now you got these people bleeding out billions of dollars. So guess what ended up happening? They had to put that call in because they was going to. So now let's take a hedge fund that got your money. They're shorting, but they also managing your money.
Right.
They're taking your good earned money that you think you're buying stocks with. They got to cover the losses over here. So guess what happens if that GameStop loss, somebody quote unquote doesn't come in and save the day? We heard about how they came in and saved the day,
which didn't seem fair.
It wasn't. It was
to the average.
They got caught.
So tell them what happened, because again, the other part you missed was some smart people on the internet figured out this firm was taking this big short, and then they told everybody to buy the stock.
He said that.
Yeah.
That's
so
what he said.
yeah, I kind of danced around it because I'm in that world and I don't want to really like call no names. Like,
you don't want to dry snitch. Okay.
Yeah. Some of these people I interact with, like, I'll tell you offline. But yeah, so basically what happened was the smart guys got together, was like, hey man, because once you look at the data, all the data's there.
Right.
So once we looked at the data, man, Ant looked at the data. I said, Ant, look. I say, it's 125. I say, how can you short some more than it's worth? Like, if 100% is max, but it's like 125 or something. So everybody came in, but it was like the perfect storm because now you got the pandemic babies, and they YOLO. It's called YOLO.
Yeah.
They can say, hey, it was a phone call. Hey man, I'm about to buy GameStop. Everybody just throwing money in.
Put their life savings on it.
Put their life savings on it. Like some guys, man, I'm talking about they made 30, 70, 80, $100 million. Right? And so the powers that be had to come in and say, because this was quote unquote what I believe, in my opinion, what was going to happen. Once they figured out they was on the wrong side of this thing, the good money from people that got 401ks, IRAs that these people actually manage, that money was going to get wiped out if they had to pay everyone out. Right? So in return, now you're going to log in and the stock market's doing fantastic. Well, how I got losses like this? because they made a bad bet. So the powers that be came in and said, nah, look, this system's broken. You couldn't even say, me and Ant was trading it. Like, we were trading, we was trying to short it.
I got short right at the top.
But guess what? They ain't honor them orders.
Well, and Robinhood, which was a place where an entry point for many people that just got into it, that found out on these websites that you need to buy this AMC stock or GameStop or whatever, they shut that down, which is like so unfair to the people.
Couldn't even buy no more.
Yeah.
You can only sell. And the thing that, not to get too in deep with it, but like the way they did it, it was so unfair because, man, just even me and Ant should have made $200,000-$300,000. Just off of the trades that we put in. Guess how much money we end up making?
What?
Like nothing. Like not even worth talking about it. And this what I do. This what we do. So I'm sitting here like, Ant, this is it. We shorten it. This is insane. This stock should not be this high. Something's gonna happen with it, right?
There's always a crash, right?
And cause we're talking about GameStop.
Yeah.
How many times nowadays I'm a gamer. We game.
Correct.
I don't step a foot inside of a game. I go straight download it directly to your console now. Right?
Same with AMC. Because it's like nobody's going to the movies.
Right.
There was just a crowd of people came in. They caught them slipping, and then the powers that be came in and was like, "Nah, we can't do this. We got to regulate this."
But the crazy part is, it's so much that go into trading and investing, right? But the access by way of a Robinhood was so limited, right? You could put 100 million, you could put 100,000 in your Robinhood account and just buy whatever. Just buy it. Like, you see this GameStop, news on the news, you see this what's going on. You're like, I want to get in, which is what caused Robinhood to shut down, because there was no
guidance, regulation.
There was no regulation. Like, anybody could do it. Like, it's the equivalent of just saying anybody can drive a car. I don't care. You don't need a license. Just go get a car and drive it.
No, a fast car.
A fast car.
Like a Bugatti or Ferrari.
Let anybody do it. That's why there's regulations around that, because you're trying to protect an individual from themselves. So you have to have a driver's license. And not only protecting the individual from themselves, protecting everybody else who's driving. And so in the trading world, there is no protection. Like, you can have any amount of money and lose it all in a day.
An hour.
And that's insane that anybody could go and operate in that with no protection.
Yep. And you can have 20, 30 years of success, and in one day it could be all wiped out. Yeah.
Like, and to make sure everyone understands what he's saying, he's meaning success in life. Like, you can go through 20, 30 years of doing everything right. Go look at this billionaire in China. He said the worst decision of his life, he started day trading during the pandemic. He lost 41 million. Because what trading does is, it's the money for some people, but it's the psychological damage. Because everyone in life, what we want to do, score the perfect score. That's what we're taught entire life. Man, make 100, score a goal, do good. Well, trading is mentality of that is totally different. It goes opposite of everything that you've learned, right? Yeah. And like a winner like him, he's a billionaire, so obviously he's a winner. Well, he got in there trying to, just because he has a lot of money and thinks he's smart, he ended up kept trading. The only time that they're going to come in and stop you from trading is when you make a violation. One of those violations is if, for instance, let's say you got 100,000, you ain't got no more money, they shut you down.
Yep.
Long as you got money and you don't violate any of those things between 8:30 and 3 o'clock, you can bring it out.
I remember what was that? That was 2019. That was my birthday. Yeah, that was my birthday weekend, 2019. I was in Costa Rica, trade. I think I lost 100 bands. I lost 100 bands in 2 days on TD Ameritrade. Nobody called me up, though. Like, they didn't even check on you, boy. You take a hit like that, nobody called.
But they call you in that margin code.
They're like, hey, how you doing, sir? Hey, how you doing? They be so nice with that. Hey, how you doing? You okay? Well, can you please wire over $180,000 by our end of day? Yeah. Or we'll give you to tomorrow, but most time end of day. It's a cold game. And I tell everyone, like, even when you go to the casino got the pit boss. He got protection around you.
Yes.
They'll be like, hey, man, hey, Dave, man, Colby, and y'all had enough tonight, man. Let me get y'all a suite. Y'all sleep it off. Come back the next day. The stock market, I'll tell everybody, Elon Musk is the richest man in the world, quote unquote.
Yeah.
If he came in that stock market every day, he'll lose it all if he don't know what he's doing. Because he can go out there and put millions of dollars on every trade.
Yep.
Every trade, right? It's no regulation. Long because you got to think about trillions of dollars flow through it every day. So that's why they can't call us because they like, look, we just got $100,000.
When I lost my $100,000, like the market didn't stop either.
No,
it wasn't like it paused or something. Like it was like
it don't know you there.
It was crazy, man. But in that experience, take us back to Bob. Like in going through that, I just so happen to be somebody who understands tech and know how to create things with technology. And so like that's all I've ever really thought about after that experience. Like, man, how can I create something that prevents somebody who looked like me specifically from taking on that type of hit? You know, I can recover from it, but a lot of people, like $100,000, some people don't have that in savings in a lifetime.
And they can never recover from that.
They can never recover from
So
it.
the Let Bob program that you have, it allows for you to try to avoid big losses. So it's thinking 10 steps ahead.
It's so far ahead of you. It don't even allow you to do that. So like if I was using Bob, I could have never done that because it won't allow me, not with the type of account size that I had trading like that, right? And so by way of just putting protection barriers around you in the experience, we protect you from yourself. Because trading is detrimental because of only one person, and that's you. Like nobody, unless you like being like forced to do it, you know, in most cases that's not the case, but nobody makes you put on a trade. That's you. Nobody makes you keep the trade on. That's you. You are the one who has to determine all that. But if you don't have the skill set or the knowledge base on how to do that, then your probability of success is like less than 5%. And it's just factual. It's
so if I join Let Bob, right? If I go on the app, the money I give you goes into a fund that you have that you trade off of. Is that correct? Or is it, how does it work with stocks? So like if I want to, I don't know nothing about stocks, but you know, I got 50 grand. So I give you 50 grand. What happens? So what happens is you open a brokerage account, a Bob brokerage account. When you download the app, you open an account. Is that similar to like E-Trade and all?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, just like Robinhood, E-Trade, Public, these companies where you open a brokerage account. Brokerage account being a type of account that you can own stocks in.
Got it.
Right? You know, you like got your checking account, but you can't own stocks in your checking account. So you have to open a brokerage account, which is specifically for holding whatever stocks you own. All right, so when you download the Bob app, you open your Bob brokerage account, and then you say you got 50 grand you want to put in there, you drop the 50 grand in. What Bob is doing when we take you through the onboarding process and you open an account, we're asking you all these questions to try to understand what are the type of stocks that's the best fit for you. And then we look at how much money you got too. And so with those two, then Bob will start hunting for stocks that match you. That might take a day, might take 2 days, might take 2 weeks.
But it's the technology.
It's the technology that's doing all this. You don't have to do anything, right? And so over time, we'll buy stocks with that 50,000. We won't like day one start buying stocks. Well, we won't spend all the 50,000 in day one. It's an organic process. And that's a difference between, you know, Bob and any other type of tool that does that for you, because we look at the market first before we do anything, and then we assess you and look at kind of what you are and what answers you provided when you signed up. And then we start to organically build your portfolio out. And with that, we keep you from these insane losses because of how we're managing the money too. So it's not just you got a brokerage account and this technology is buying stocks. We're also managing the money in that buying stocks.
So are you communicating with your customers at the same time? So like I gave you the 50 grand and you don't spend it all at once, and you have my profile and you figure out what works for me, and then the program knows when to pounce on a particular stock.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And so are you sending me notes every day? Like how does this work? How do I know what's going on with my account?
So what we try to do is feed you news, period, right, on different stocks and just the market in itself. And then as we buy for you, then we provide like news and company information so you know what stock that you own. Like we are really big on that, because when we talked 401ks earlier, most people don't know what they hold in their 401k or who the company is or what they do. And so for us on Buy, we want you to be knowledgeable of anything he buys and when he buys it. And so you're able to speak intelligently to whatever is in your stock portfolio. And so for us, that's my best expression of how technology could help the culture. Because with no Bob, and you had that same $50,000, and you go to Robinhood, now all the work's on you. And it's hard to make $50,000. That's a tough journey for most people to accumulate $50,000 in cash. And with no Bob, there's no way to take it without giving it to somebody. Like your first question was, where you put it in a fund. No, you own the stocks. We're buying individual stocks and putting it in your account. And for us, that's how we think it should be, because we're about ownership. You should own and benefit so that in time, let's say that $50,000 in 5 or 10 years, now you have a solid stock portfolio that you can either hand to your daughter or you can leverage. You can go and borrow money from yourself against your portfolio. You know, and so that's what we're trying to create in the community, man.
And you wrote the software for this.
Yes, yeah.
You created the software. So where did that come from you to even know how to create a software like that?
God's plan, man. Like, I tell people all the time, man, my purpose, God created me to empower people, man. Like, you sit down with me for 5 to 10 minutes and you willing and ready, like, I'll lay some insight on you. And so I use my technology skill set. FAMU, thank you so much. I use that skill set to blend the two. And you get Bob. I was born to do this, man. I am Bob. You know, that's why I tell people, God created me for this purpose. So that's why the movement is so strong, because it ain't just, I'm this dude trying to get rich. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the tech field and I'm in the trading field. So if it was about money, then I just do that. It's about empowering my people so they can participate in this thing too. They can benefit off the power of tech. Technology is a game changer. I live in Alabama and have built an empire with merely the internet. Like, that's never existed before.
So talk a little bit about, because really what intrigued me when I first met you guys was your game plan for these big endowments that universities have, but specifically HBCUs, because you are a graduate of HBCU. Correct. Talked a little bit about the endowment game and how that works for any university, but what you are trying to do for HBCUs.
It's the same thing we talk about with, like, not knowing how to participate in the stock market. They're at the same mercy of the market as all of us, right? They just so happen to be an organization with money. But if you go to an HBCU or any university, they don't have traders on deck, you know, professionals who do this, right? And most times they hire third parties to come in and manage their money. But in that space, we talk about, well, where is the money going? You know, most endowments at these HBCUs are investing in non-Black owned financial vehicles on the stock market. Because ain't no financial... Of the 2,000 plus exchange traded funds, exchange traded fund being like a modern day mutual fund, of the 2,000 plus on the stock market, only 3 are Black owned. And we're one of the 3. And so if you got, like, some of these endowments, Howard specifically got like $800 million in their endowment. So where are they investing the money? They're not buying individual stocks because it's too risky. They can't put $800 million across stocks because, let's say they did, and this year happened. The endowment money can't be used for that because this is the money that goes to operate the school. And so for us, it was in learning this and seeing this, it's like, okay, how can we use the technology we have to go into the organization and say, look, instead of buying these white-owned vehicles, let's build one that you own, and you use our technology to do it. So in the same way that Bob organically builds individuals' stock portfolios, we could do the same thing for the HBCU. And they can have their own fund. And then, like me, I can hold my FAMU ETF in my portfolio. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what the kind of like the desire and the vision come from, is saying we want to circulate money through our community.
Right.
And how we can do that is providing education, providing the ability to own in a place where money is bottomless in the stock market, man. No matter how much money, we could take all the endowments combined, and the stock market still wouldn't really feel it if all that money was removed. And so we believe by giving them their own individual vehicle to put on the stock exchange, like we have ours, that puts them in a different position, not only to shift their funds, but also to communicate out to their alums. Like, this is a way for you to invest in the university. It's a much easier way, too. Because if you want to give money to an endowment today, like, how do you do that? Like, what's the process? It's a multi-step process. Once we stand their ETFs up, you can just log into your brokerage account and buy it. You can call your 401k provider at work. Hey, look, I need you to move this much money to my university. You know, that's the ultimate vision, to get us in a position so we can give back to the university in a way that works for everybody and not just reserved for people with lump sums. Yeah. So. And
you're also a publicly held company as well, right?
No, we're not yet. We haven't IPO yet. Yeah. Okay. We plan to. That's the end goal for Bob. I'm not selling Bob. That's not my goal. My goal is not to, build this thing up and sell it. This is my life's work. So the end goal is to IPO, but you can always see me in this vision. Yeah, always. So man, great episode, man. Colby, thanks for the time. Come in and chill with your boys.
Thanks for the education. I mean, I'm just every time we connect, I'm learning. You know what I mean? Yeah. But just once again, to people listening, like, we really need you all to just be aware of the world, man, and just. I know sometimes people think the news is boring and what's happening, and different resources for news, not just one place to go for news, which unfortunately our political climate is the way it is because people are singular with how they get information and versus just reading a bunch of things and making your own opinions. Yeah. But learn, because, there's so much you could do in this world if you have financial freedom. And unfortunately, in our communities, we don't really have a lot of finance. We always working for somebody or hustling to work for this check every, week and get treated like hell from the people that we work for, right? So if you want to get out of that cycle, you got to feed your brain, your mind, and you got to get away from the distractions, but you also got to, learn. And that's what I did during the pandemic. I said, I need to understand finance. And I just took the time to do it and just, took the time to understand it. Then I met you guys. And so now I am still in the learning process, and it don't matter how old you are, but it's just so important. And what you are doing and what your ideas are and what you've created with your product, man, I just hope and pray that, more people of color can find out and we can kind of boost you up and protect you at all costs, because, what you're trying to do, man, it's amazing. Yeah. We want to be able to put you up in a statue somewhere. Oh, man. So in Birmingham, so that the world can see this brother from the South, and you came from very humble roots in the South, and this is what you're doing. Yeah. I think I'm just so impressed, man, and I just wish the best for you, and whatever I can do to help you all with this product, I'm gonna do it because I believe in it.
I appreciate it, man. Our goal is 1 million black investors in the next 3 years, man. That's what we're gonna do with Bob. We're gonna put 1 million black investors who otherwise would not have, got in the stock market. We're gonna have 1 million plus black investors with their own individual stock portfolio. And that's something that doesn't exist today. Outside of like 401ks, right? Lil Pookie in the hood can have him a Bob account. He can show his stocks to everybody else in the hood. Like, hey, yo, man, look at my portfolio. That's where we at. I'm up to date. He checking. He logging in, looking.
Leave that legacy. Yeah. So we not trying to do a GoFundMe to pay for funerals and all that stuff that we do, right? Like really having a true financial legacy. Yeah. And that's something, man, we got to do better as a community. We just got to do it. It's so, important. And I think what you all are doing in this process is really helpful. So, I wish the world for you. And we have to protect you because, when people like you exist, there's always forces that don't like that. They don't want us to know. They don't want us to invest in ourselves. I feel like DJ Khaled right now. Well, God did.
God did. That's good. That's good. Well, we appreciate it, man. Hey, it's been another episode of Let Bob Podcast. Find us on all social media. We are Let Bob. I am Let Bob. Hey, love it. Let's do it again.
I gotta keep it real. J.E. Get 'em.